Do you want curry with your toasty?
I'll take a little bit. Just a little bit, please. We're rolling.
What?
It's on.
Already?
Yeah. Dankjewel.
Alsjeblieft. How's it going with your Dutch?
Excellent. Prima.
Prima. We're talking a little bit more Dutch.
We'll have a little moment.
Yeah.
This would be nice even when we're apart and on the trail.
Keep doing our little moments.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also stay connected in that way.
Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah,
What are you not really doing at the moment? You praying?
It's different almost every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just like letting go of, like this time it was more of my posture. So being aware of how my body was feeling and that I was kind of leaning to a side. So I was just waiting until I got into a better aligned position.
Like center.
Yeah, just feeling a little bit like engaging some of the muscles instead of being lazy with them. And yeah, then just taking a couple of seconds after that to feel the position I was in and then relax the body, let the mind settle just a small amount, and then for me that was it. But it's different almost every time. Sometimes I still have the residuals of the way I was raised, so Jehovah and Jesus come up. And I'm not so, it doesn't bother me like it used to, so I just let that be, and let that be a nice.
Let them come to your mind.
Yeah. Because it was nice when I was young. It was a certain comforting thing. And then sometimes, depending on what's going on around, it can be finishing a little thought in the head. Sometimes it's trying to clear out the mind from thinking. Sometimes.
I think that's what it's mostly for me.
Yeah.
It's clearing the mind. But keep on going.
Yeah. It can also be, depending on what, if there's something intense happening, and sometimes it's just finishing that up in a calmer way.
Yeah.
It's also interesting because I used to, and I still do it sometimes, where I feel a little bit like awkward if I finish first, or if the thought comes into my head that somebody else has already finished.
Yeah.
So now I just, as best I can, let go of that and just be comfortable when I'm done opening my eyes.
And just look at me and wait.
Yeah, which is also nice because you're doing your own thing, and I don't really know what it is, which is also kind of nice sometimes to not always be needing some sort of feedback, and it be a little bit of a mystery what's happening inside your head. And you say most of the time it's just quieting?
Yeah, I first want to get a little cushion to sit on. Because it's important to sit comfortably, I think. So, that'll be nice.
Good.
Right?
Yeah, it's nice. No, this is good.
Good. That you like it. Yeah, I think for me, I don't really go in every time with an intention or something, but what it comes back to often is really coming back to the breath. Take some really conscious breaths and feeling the body, and then clearing the head. Kind of come back to like an open space. That the things that are like so, like that the mind is so occupied with, that just rest for a while. Come back to this like neutral space. I think that's what it is, like 90% of the time. Yeah. And the other times I can now try to dig, but I don't really.
Yeah. Yeah. I have it, well, I think similar. It's a non-controlling space.
Mm-hmm.
So, become aware and like maybe change something if it's uncomfortable in my body, but not trying to push away anything or work on something.
Right.
It's just a completion of something or a calming of something.
So this is something that I mean, we've been doing this. I mean, it's been 2 years now, I think, almost, yeah, that we started doing this. And at first it was very uncomfortable with other people.
You mean when other people are around?
When other people are around, or when I'm like, I don't know, I have judgments even when we do it together with people, that they would be thinking of us like, like, look at them, like, together getting into like a certain space, or, you know, like distancing from maybe the rest of the people, while it's actually connecting, trying also to connect with the people around. But just that they're not like, that they're not really knowing what we are doing.
I think that's great. But yeah, it's also uncomfortable, especially at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I figure, and a lot of people have said it, that the only thing that they can relate it to is praying.
Exactly.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or giving thanks, or.
And then it's almost like, I don't want to be.
About.
And then it's almost like, I don't want to be looked at like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this judgment on already, you know, praying.
That's why I say I do it even when you're not around.
Yeah, but that's what I'm doing now as well. Like when I'm working at the restaurant and we're eating all together with the colleagues, I'm like, should I just skip it? Every time there's this moment of, should I just skip it? I'll just skip it today. And then I'm like, nope, Nadine, because you just want to skip it because you feel judged, right? Like,
yeah.
And I really just don't want to have that feeling anymore.
Yep.
Not doing something because you feel judged.
Yep.
Not doing something that actually feels really good to you. I just want to be like also open with other people.
Yeah, and then not have to explain it so that there isn't the judgment.
Yeah,
And
and
that
then
was the
even
tendency.
and then I even feel like I have to explain it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's also different, like, sometimes it's nice to bring other people into it, but then that's for me a way of getting out of the discomfort of it.
Mm.
And so now, okay, hey, can we all have a moment together? It's like, okay, well, that takes my awkward feeling out of it. I'm including you. Now you're doing your own thing, and you're going to be the one that feels awkward about when you open your eyes and close your eyes, and what you're thinking about and what we're thinking about. So I almost prefer it to just, because it's a more solitary feeling of getting over my own, like you said, being judged or
yeah. But then it carries a whole different thing when we are doing it just together, or when we are I'm alone at the house. Than doing it with the other people. With the other people, it's even more of a process. Like, I don't have to feel judged.
Right.
Like, I can just,
And they can think the wrong thing, and it's okay.
Yeah. Or maybe even that you're okay with the judging.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like,
So not that you're not feeling judged, but being okay with
whatever they're thinking.
exactly. Yeah. Do
It
you
could
want
become another toasty.
Yeah. Because it's still in there and it's done. I think.
I can get it this time, and you can sit here in the awkward
Silent space.
silence with the unknown people.
Can you put some more sauce on my plate?
I don't know whose is whose on this one.
The right one is yours with the peppers.
The right one?
Yeah. Toasties are always sticky so much. No joking.
Yeah, it's definitely different. And that's why so many of these things I think are difficult. I think this is a small thing about what it is to be in relationships in general. Because there's always some sort of responsibility of what other people are thinking, how they're feeling, what they're thinking about you, and then you have to also have that same thing, like being okay with the other person not knowing everything, with what they're thinking may not be what you think they're thinking, and they may be misjudging you, and like finding some calm and peace where not everything has to be always explained or understood perfectly.
Yeah. I think where it also just allows you to have a little moment with yourself inside the crowd.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
I like that we.
And I think that goes along, it's a good segue for, because we were talking about this being an open thing, which is what people shy away from in the experience. You're going to go on a solo walk. I'm probably going to go on a solo walk on the other side. And we were talking about the process leading up to that, like you just quit your job and how that feels, how it feels for me worrying about you, because initially it was just going to be you taking the walk. So I'm worried about, are you going to be safe? Just a single woman walking through the mountains for 6 weeks. And then also all the things like the unknown on the other side of that. And personal relationship issues and things like that, just being open about all of that through this process, couple months.
And what do you feel like this process is?
What do you mean?
What would you call this process? Process of.
Between us, or including?
Yeah, well, I feel like we're on a point in our lives where we are making some pretty big decisions to go a certain way.
Yep.
And I mean, we've done this before, like quitting our jobs and giving up a house and starting over somewhere else. But this does feel a little bit different, I think. For me, at least.
I think it's different because we're doing it together, for one thing, with some sort of things that we want to keep going throughout it. Not just a complete exploration with sightseeing,
Mm-hmm.
what's out there, and not really looking for a place to settle down and to build something. So that makes it quite a bit different, just that alone. And then,
But wait, I thought I thought that we are looking for a place to settle down.
that's what I mean.
Oh.
That's what makes this
I
different.
thought-
Because in the past that wasn't the case. You said, what makes this different?
Ah, okay. This is the language issues that we sometimes have.
Yeah, it's mainly that she just doesn't listen to me. That's not the case.
I mean,
It's a joke.
sometimes that's true. But
It was a joke.
I know, but sometimes it's true.
Sure.
What? But it's difficult sometimes with the language because yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's difficult sometimes. with
This
the
is
language.
not your native language.
My native language is Dutch, which is a very easy language, right?
Ja, makkelijk. Heel makkelijk.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I think that makes it a lot different.
Right.
We're carrying with us a solid relationship. We have things that we're working on, but I think for the most part it's pretty solid, pretty good. Communication is open.
And I think therefore we are able to work towards something that we both have a big wish for.
Mm-hmm. And we started KA-TANG for some time now, and we've seen that works really well together.
Mm-hmm.
And it has its own stability, and we're building confidence in that with having regular people that do it and are already expressing that they'll miss it and looking for us to coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also a new thing that we're taking on a journey to also find a home for that.
Mm-hmm.
So those are two pretty solid things.
The rest is not solid at all.
No, not at all.
Because we won't have a house soon. We won't have a house anymore. We won't have income anymore.
Yep.
We have at the moment 15,000 euros that we're living with, and that is sometimes very confronting when we see prices of land or prices of living and stuff to build with. And so actually we're mainly the last couple of weeks in the process of trusting and having faith in taking this leap
Mm-hmm.
and seeing where it will lead us to.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because it switched like lately. Like I think throughout our relationship you were actually always the one pointing out that you had faith and that you had trust in all these things and that things will just work out for us, and you were trying to pull me into that space, and where I was like quite fearful and
Mm-hmm.
could be a little bit anxious about financial situations or anxious about making a change and having all these thoughts of that it would go wrong, and it just wouldn't be for us. And now it's a little bit more the opposite, where I have worked a lot on trust and the feeling of life will just like guide us, and we will get somewhere we belong.
Yeah.
and the practical stuff we'll figure out in some sort of way.
Yeah. Which that's it's a little bit more of a unique space for me to be in. And I think it's a combination because I'm also worried about, even more so earlier, worried about you physically walking through the Pyrenees and with your inexperience of doing that. And so that caused me some anxiety and fear just in that, and having to put trust and faith that you'll be fine, you'll be good, which I feel you will be. But in the back of your mind, there's always the what ifs and if this, if that. And I think that also came into the feeling of finances and things. So now, also thinking of the what ifs and what if that happens, what if that happens. And so it's hard to regulate both at the same time.
Yeah. And I mean, it's quite normal, I think. I mean, people's reactions, if we tell this, people's reactions are like, most of the times, like really, sorry, did you take the plug of the thing? Okay, I'll do that. What I was going to say is that like the reactions of people when we tell that we're going to do this is mostly like, cool, nice that you're going to do this, and especially from people outside our inner circle.
Yeah.
And then the reactions from people in our inner circle is usually like, you're really sure you're going to like give up your house, and okay, and how are you going to do it financially? Like, how are you going to get income? And like, do you not think you should also look a little bit at the future?
No. A lot of external fear.
A lot of external fear. And I mean, you are 47, I'm 30.
How old are you?
Almost 30.
How old are you?
Oh no, I just turned 29. Why do I get to 30 suddenly? I don't know, 29. It's still 29. So it's quite a big step to make. To just give up everything and just try and build a new life somewhere with 15,000 euros.
Yeah.
If we're lucky, maybe a little bit more. While still, like, just having built up a little bit over here. Why are we actually making this choice?
Originally, it was because of finding a spot that has more wilderness opportunity. So just a piece of land that has some contour and shape, like in the mountains, that and think about family, think about doing retreats with KA-TANG, and that also gives a little bit more of that natural spirit that you have quite strongly, and that I also have, being in the wilderness, as opposed to Holland is also a beautiful place, but the wilderness is not so much here. It's very
Not at all, you mean?
Yeah, very little, right? So it's very
structured.
Very structured. Everything is like a park.
Yeah.
And
things are very well like thought out and planned and like straight.
Yeah. And with that come higher prices. So it's a more difficult entry point to also to buy something.
Yeah,
And
because
then-
we don't want to be in this life like needing to always work in order to pay our mortgage or pay bills and just continuously like trying to always make sure that that will be covered.
Yeah. And then my health comes into play a little bit too, where it's not so good for my physical health, just the climate and whatnot of this area. So I think it's a combination of the reason why we want to make this move. We could make
Yeah.
it work here. I think we're making it work here really pretty well, especially from the beginning where it felt like you especially could not even live here
Right.
happily at all. So it's also nice to be leaving with a more clear vision instead of running away
Mm-hmm.
from it or feeling like there's nothing to be had and this place is terrible
Yeah, we managed quite good here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still, it's a missing of the feeling of for me, I think basically just feeling in the right place, like with the supported surroundings. I think Jente the other day said it really nice, right? With the bloom
Mm-hmm.
or with a flower.
Yeah.
A flower that like somewhere in an environment is like coming up in an environment, so like it can grow in a certain environment. But then in another environment, it can like truly bloom and like unfold with all its like colors and unfold with all its smells and everything. That it's just a difference in environment. And I think that kind of environment, like more into the wilderness, having more outside space. Also, if we are like getting a family, that will allow us both and maybe kids to like
Yeah.
bloom much more,
Right.
and flourish,
Yeah.
truly flourish.
And for me, that's the part that makes me feel better about this move. Because if you take that thing that she said, the reality of that, there's some flowers that won't grow in certain places at all.
Yeah.
And it's nice to know that
Or you have
we
to
were able
or
to-
you have to nourish it like so much in order for it to.
or it just won't grow.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
you know, there's plenty of plants that won't grow here, that'll grow in the tropics, that will grow in Alaska, but not in.
Yeah.
So that's also nice, without taking it inside and creating its own environment,
Exactly.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice that we were able to figure out how that we can actually still bloom here, and that the possibility is that we will flourish even more somewhere else. So it's not that trapped feeling,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm quite happy about.
Yeah.
That it's more of a free feeling to have experienced this.
Definitely.
Ja, maar stage haal ik sowieso wel.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to take the walk? It's a pretty recent
Geen stage.
thing. I think you only
Yeah. So.
decided like 6 weeks ago, something like this, maybe 8 weeks ago.
Yeah, so I think first of all, I decided to take a solo walk because, like, over the last 1.5 year, we were pretty stressed because of the whole visa thing, like financial issues and things. Had to meet certain requirements in order to like be able to love and like spend time together here in Holland. So I felt quite driven by the outside world, like the government, and like just I felt pushed into directions that I haven't like chosen myself. So the first reason for me to take that solo walk was to take a break, to take like to not even to take a break actually, but to reset from that, because that is like over now. We have quite a bit of savings. We have the visa. There's no need to feel trapped anymore. But I'm still a little bit in that frame of mind, I guess. It's still with me, and I just want to let go of that. So, the challenging walk, I think, where I kind of am pushing myself, but choosing to do it myself, and where it's kind of like surviving for my own a little bit. I think can make that work. And then there came like other reasons also in, because I have this desire already for like quite some time to just really immerse myself in nature, really be a part of nature and go through like the beautiful things, but also go through like terrible things, like of rain and wind and like harshness.
Wind, I think, is going to be the
Wind
most
is gonna be the most challenging for me, yeah. But to really make peace of nature, and in that with whatever comes. I'm just there. I'm being in there.
What makes this different? Because I wasn't with you at the time, but you've done a few solo traveling things.
Mm-hmm.
I think you went to Indonesia by yourself. You went to India alone. You went in a camper van alone for a few months.
Mm-hmm.
And each, like, especially with the camper van, you were telling me that you thought that it was going to be this great solo experience, and then within a couple, 3 weeks, you really didn't like it at all, being alone.
Exactly, yeah.
Is it that you feel like you should like being alone for a long period of time? Has it changed what the reason is for this solo trip opposed to the other ones?
This is definitely a little bit of a different reason. I don't feel like I have to be alone so much anymore. I think the times when I went on my own, like in the camper van to India, there was also a time period where I was like very exhausted from internal processes. But then I realized, like, if I just go on my own, I just take my process with me, and it's a constant. I don't know. It was a constant battle of figuring out, okay, what am I going to do here? Like, where am I gonna go now? Like, and I also found that like seeing things was not having any meaning so much anymore. Especially not when I was like seeing things on my own. So I actually wanted to share my moments with people. And I also found out that for me it's quite nice to have some direction, to have some, just direction. So now I just know, okay, I'm gonna start here, and then it's just walking. It's only walking, and it's only walking, and I think I can surrender more to that, because I don't have to think so much of like, where am I going, what am I going to do, what do I need right now. It's just more of like, I'm gonna go on this walk, and
You have a start, and you have
kind of
a
an
possible end.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just a wide open,
yeah, that wide
Completely.
open space for me was like, it was a very lost, ungrounding feeling.
Ultimate freedom is actually a bigger trap than.
Oh man, I found that out so much. Yeah, so this is definitely with a different feeling, and there is a little bit of like, you know, I mean, I have a lot of emotional support from you. I get a lot of like you listening to my feelings and emotions and sorting things out with me together. And it is, I think, also, it feels good if I can be alone for some time and also be with my own feelings, even if they're difficult. Or yeah. And even though I had a difficult time, like this, even this last like 1.5 year, it is. I feel much stronger in that sense. So it's not going to be this desperate thing of like, I have to go away from here. Because I need rest or something. Even though it maybe sounds like that. Like a reset or.
Yeah, it doesn't really sound like that to me.
No.
A reset is different than.
I think what the
rest.
I think what the difference also is like at that time, the other times when I left on my own, I didn't have any clue what I wanted, where I was going. Not any clue. And this time it is, I know the direction, not only the direction to walk in, but like also the direction, like figuratively, where we're going. So it's not like I have to figure a whole life out on a walk or something. But it's just a thing to reset and to be with myself. And yeah. But who knows, maybe after a week I will be very, very lonely and
Does it scare you?
not anymore. No, not anymore. I think because I've learned to also be with those feelings. But it's different on a walk where you're not having any easy access to go back or to, especially if you were, because, I mean, now we're talking about my walk, but we've actually more recently thought about a plan of Sean starting on the other side, so on opposite sides, and it's a trail of 900, a little bit over 900 kilometers. So that would mean that we like both do like about 450. I don't know, maybe you were running, yeah? Or maybe I will be running, who knows? And that we meet somewhere in the middle. So that is even a little bit like, I can't even call you up like, hey, I am really lonely. Can you please pick me up? Because you're also on the walk, right? But it also gives like a soothing or like a kind of a nice feeling that you are also on the walk.
Yeah.
That I'm not alone. That I'm not really alone. So in that regard, I can see it maybe being less lonely, if you understand.
Than if I were just at home waiting for your call at night.
Exactly. Yeah.
For whenever you felt lonely.
Yeah.
You felt like you wanted somebody to talk to that was familiar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what is your reason for doing also a walk, starting on the opposite side?
Well, I enjoy these kind of trips. I'm not really wanting to do anything solo, so it's different. it's
This is also like a little bit of a pattern between you and me, right? Or
What?
pattern that you don't feel the necessity to do things alone so much, and I do.
well, I think you said you don't even feel the necessity to do this alone anymore, right?
Well, but I felt that. I felt that a lot. I often said like I need space and I want to be alone. And
Yeah.
But sorry, continue.
Yeah, I've had those feelings of taking trips in the past. And it's just something that comes up missing with not having somebody to share the experience with as you're going along.
Mm-hmm.
It's still enjoyable. I still enjoy that. But kind of like you, I've done this solo thing a few times before, and doing walks like this as well, which is different. I don't think you've done that yet. But I do like the romantic feeling of it. Like starting on opposite ends, that's quite nice. And I've never had that experience of walking apart together. That's an interesting element, and I'm curious how that will feel. Also, now, because we had things set up more concretely on the opposite side of your walk when you were done, of what we would do, where we would go.
Before, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now that that's something that's not there, so we don't have a place to go to afterwards as far as like a home.
Mm-hmm.
I debated between just starting to look for properties, look for places, and things like that on my own while you were walking.
Mm-hmm.
But one, that's a little bit expensive, especially if we're just going to do that again afterwards together.
Mm-hmm.
So the finances are one thought. And then also, I started to think more and more that just networking along the way and looking at these places more intimately, which you do naturally by walking through them,
Mm-hmm.
that might end up finding that place anyway. So going through the experience, doing something I enjoy, combined with creating a networking community for finding a place. And
It's actually such a nice idea.
it's a lovely idea.
Yeah.
And then I like the idea. We'll see how it works out, what we want to do at the end. But you know, especially if we walk to the middle and then we walk together, it's a very poetic, beautiful, romantic story to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then we start doing that same process together, you know, as we finish the trail in a different way.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
that's-
depending on where we found the most beautiful places.
Yeah.
Or
Right?
Or
maybe-
just continuing our search on another trail in the Spanish side.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I also think it's nice because we are going into a much deeper chapter
Mm-hmm.
together with what we do, what we're doing now with people, with the business that we're starting.
Does it feel like a business to you?
Of course, but not an impersonal business. You can have a personal business, an impersonal business.
Yeah, it just feels more like, I don't know, like maybe
Otherwise,
I
we would-
associate business just with
Cold.
I think I still associate business with like very commercial, indeed, like a bit cold,
Yeah.
that type. Whereas, and I have something towards that, right? I have some resistance towards that.
Yeah. I think
It's
of
a
it as a
battery.
business. I don't know.
Should I just check it?
I mean, it doesn't matter if it's there or not.
Business or not?
Yeah, we wouldn't be worrying about the place that we rent and keeping track of money if it wasn't a business.
Yeah.
And in the future, thinking of it as a way to our living and put food on the table.
Mhm.
So in that way, it is.
Yeah.
But I think it's very personal and personable.
I like a little more
Business.
community business or something. Community. Yeah. Personal.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The way we do it is keeping the cold profit a little bit separate, because we do things like donation basis and don't leave anybody out of the economic piece of it, right?
Mhm.
So if somebody comes and does something with us, it can be €0 for a session or 1,000, it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
So in that way, it's a little bit of a strange business model, but it's still a business. Yeah, it's how I think of it.
Mhm. Do you want to tell a little bit more about that? Why we
Do you want to tell a little bit more? Tell a little bit more about what?
about the donation thing. I mean, that's also why it, I think, doesn't really feel like a business to me. Because in that same thing, I mean, we're far from commercial. Right? Do you agree with me?
I mean, yes and no,
I mean, we could have asked, like, much more.
but I don't think it matters how much you're asking or not asking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
But
know that
I mean, what it is like our first reason for doing this is not to make big money.
Yeah, but it's still to make money. It's not our reason for doing it. I think we would do it on the side,
I think-
regardless, without money, but we want to do this in a way that we don't have to do the other work that we don't want to do, right?
Mhm.
So in that way, we're taking our passion and having it generate enough income for us to live.
Mhm.
So it is about, I have a big problem with this, because it is about money. And that's, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Mhm.
We could do it another way, but it's the same thing. Like, we could go back to our regular jobs in things that are also a part of a business
Mhm.
to fund this other thing, right?
Mhm.
But we just wouldn't have as much time to do it.
Exactly.
And we would be always recovering from this side to do this side.
Mhm.
I don't think our aim is to become necessarily rich, but if we get rich in the process, also okay with me.
Yeah.
But the main focus is to make it, at least the way you and I discussed it, available to everyone.
Mhm.
And not use so much advertising, but in reality we also do that. We have an Instagram page, we have put together videos, we have a website, we've made flyers. These are all advertising things you do with
Yeah,
business,
even though
right?
it's like nowadays it's quite the minimal advertising.
Yeah.
I would say still minimal advertising.
Oh, it's definitely minimal. Everything we do is pretty minimal, but
Yeah.
it doesn't
It's not
take
that
away
we
from
do-
the fact that it's
That we're not doing anything.
Yeah.
about it, yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
And there can be the way that I look at it, there can be good business and there can be bad business. There can be good relationships, there can be bad relationships.
Mhm.
But it still is what it is.
Yeah.
It's still what we're trying to use to make money to fund our life.
Yeah. Definitely. And also still have some benefit for other people.
Yeah, right? So it's a personal
Yeah.
thing.
Enriching. Also for the mind. Fulfilling.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right. And in this way, I mean, there's all kinds of these things. Like a therapist is also in business through the benefit of other people.
Yeah. That's true.
And I think you'll see the same thing on your walk, right? You'll see people that have made a business out of welcoming people into their little spaces, and they make money off of it. And some will be very personable and warm, and it'll feel like a community. It's benefiting people that are walking through.
Yeah.
It's still a business.
Yeah. That is true. And we actually can't live almost without it. Or you're just working for a place, right? Hey,
Or
and
you're
just
willing to have
nothing.
no security and just
Yeah, but
really
even-
be primal, which is extremely difficult in itself.
Yeah.
Possible, but then that's the choice of. I think that's the choice of no business at all,
Right.
and that's a pretty big step,
Yeah.
and that almost always means a very lonely life.
Yeah. Yeah. And in that again, I think in some environments that's easier, a little bit easier to do than in other environments. I had to live primal, and that's another wish of ours, to be able to live minimalistic and quite primal.
The comfortable primitive.
The comfortable primitive, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
not completely primitive.
yeah,
But maybe having the ability to, right? That we talked about, like going into the woods for
yeah.
a couple weeks and
Sure.
being able to.
To be a Stone Age primitive liver
Mhm.
for 3 months out of the year, okay.
Yeah. And we're gonna do it quite primitive on the walk.
Even in the piece of property.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the plan, to be very minimal and yeah, not have a lot of the modern conveniences and all these things as well. But it's also not completely living off the land and producing all of our own food and making all of our own clothes, giving up phones and everything altogether.
Right. Do you sometimes think that what we want is Mission Impossible?
No.
Right.
No, I think this is pretty.
It is possible, yeah. And I even
Very.
feel that there's already the place is already out there, and I can see us like on the place.
Yeah, I think it's not going to be easy to find it.
What do we need? What do you think is the most important thing with this search?
Well, a piece of land that we're allowed to live on is important.
Yeah, but I mean in the process of finding it.
Staying open and trusting, kind, but with a foundation of wisdom. So not just being swept by everything that sounds good or every person that has a excitement
Mm-hmm.
about them. Yeah. So just meeting enough people, seeing enough things, being open to the idea of putting our things out there so that people can hear them
Mm-hmm.
and be like, oh, I actually know of this place over here, or my cousin Billy Bob was talking about a little piece of his farm that he needs to get rid of because he's going to have a baby. Who knows? But just not being self-conscious about speaking it out.
Yeah.
And yeah, enough people.
What are you laughing about?
That's from King of the Hill. I don't know if you even know this. It's a cartoon back in America. But there's this guy that he's one of the characters asks him, like, how do you always get women to come home with you? He's like, you're such a ladies' man. And it shows him out one night and he's just asking one woman, another woman, another woman. He's getting slapped, rejected, turned down, like all night long, and finally somebody says yes, right? So it's a crude thing, but it came into my head that that's kind of how you need to be. It's just
You
like
need to have
always asking.
persistence.
Yeah, and not like in that way, obviously, but
Yeah.
you know, just always saying, hey, because most of the time the answer's not going to be there. But if you only ask once or you only ask twice, the probability is you're not going to find what you need. But if you ask 100 times,
Yeah.
then 99 of those may be a no, but you only need one yes. So just always putting it out there. And I think that's the nice thing about a slow walk and getting into that practice of being open to your own idea enough to put your thing that you want out there.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm starting to like the idea more and more of that you coming from the other side. I had to get used to it a little
Yeah.
bit because it was like, I don't know, it was kind of like, this is my thing, you
Yeah.
know? Like I wanted to own my own thing.
Right.
And then suddenly you were coming in with this other idea when the other plan like was kind of turned down.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I want this.
Yeah.
I just want.
Yeah. And it's
But
so
I'm starting to like really like the idea.
okay. Yeah. And we still have time to have it not be the idea.
Yeah, but also with this like in mind, we have something pretty clear in mind, and for that it would also be very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so too. So what we're thinking about doing with this is documenting the whole thing, the thoughts that come in, the fears from both sides,
Actually, the whole process.
the whole process, and also putting it out there, what we're looking for. That's
And actually also maybe sometimes asking for advice, how we can maybe do things, how we can approach things. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. There's a lot of different things that we've already been talking about, and we just kind of scratched the surface of some of the easier parts of it. So, we'll see you again next time, right?
There's a lot to discover and a lot to share.
Doing.
This was our first video vlog.
Yeah. How do you think it went?
I think it was pretty good.
Yeah. What do you think it was? An
I mean,
hour
I
of
think
talking?
it's nicer to do this with the two of you instead of like doing this on your own.
Video logging?
Yeah, because if you're doing it on your own, you're really talking to like a camera. At least we are still talking to each other.
Yeah.
But it's still a little bit weird.
What is?
That this is just going to be shared with people that are on their phones or on their computer or whatnot.
Is it
And-
is it more weird than people playing a video game or watching a movie scripted with actors? What makes it weird?
No, I think it's nicer.
Yeah. But you mean weird like it's a stranger into your life?
Yeah, and I've never really been on like I've never really been on this side of the camera, you know, where I'm being watched
Mm-hmm.
by other people. I mean, I've watched movies and series and whatnot, and even filmed some little things, but I was always very like quite uncomfortable
Yeah.
in front of the camera.
Maybe only, your mom and your sister watch this. And my
Yeah,
brother.
but even that would be nice, right? They would get to know us from like a little bit like more deeper, I think. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah, good.
good.
Okay. All right. Well, nice. We'll do another one maybe tomorrow. And talk about.
So every day an hour, right? That's the plan. Nope, we're not gonna do that.
Nay. Nay.
Maybe like a weekly, 1 hour every week or something.
Well, not on the trail. I think the trail needs to be more frequently. Why don't you have a seat? And then I'm talking. I think
Yeah, and the trail might be nice.
I would think like a couple of these together in a week, and then one solo for each of us, because it is also like it's a shared experience, but it's also a solo thing. And for me, when I'm doing like filming myself, it's uncomfortable at first, but then if you're really like being open,
Just
then
goes.
it also just goes.
And maybe it's even nice to express, right?
Yeah.
To express yourself even though there's not a real person in front of you.
Yeah.
And like I can imagine that it's even something to, you know, you express yourself also to yourself and
Right.
speak things out loud
Yeah.
that are like otherwise just like floating around in your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some practice to do, I think, with that.
Well, you've got lots of time to practice. All right, I love
Let's
it.
see. Me too.
I wish you the best on your journey. Now we can stop.
And it's fallen out.
Oh yeah?
We need to make sure that, because I don't like that, because then it starts to be very annoying, I think. Really. Me no likey.